Tense moments in D.C., police using pepper spray to disperse a crowd of protesters at George Washington University. They made several arrests, clearing an encampment from the campus. Demonstrators have been there for nearly 2 weeks now. NewsNation's Tom Dempsey joining us live from the campus with the latest. What's the mood like now, Tom?
Hey, good morning, Marni. Well, hours after this all happened overnight, those clashes between protesters and police, it's still a busy scene out here at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. This is as close as we can get. You can see the barricades that are up right now and the police presence that's up right here. This is right near the area known as University Yard here at GW. And if we actually zoom in, you can actually see at this very moment right now some of the response workers loading in some of these tents that were set up, the encampment that was set up along University Yard here at GWU University. But overnight, it was just a crazy scene. I actually spoke to a student journalist who was here overnight. She described seeing hundreds of police officers respond to this and clashes between protesters and police as well. And just a short time ago, we actually got some numbers and updates from the chief of police who described 33 arrests overnight, almost all of them for unlawful entry for this protest, this pro-Palestinian protest that was happening here at GW. One of those arrests coming due to an assault on a police officer. But what was interesting, Marni, is that the police chief described how things really escalated with this gathering of protesters this week. Escalating between protesters and police. The police chief sharing details of things like an assault on a police officer that happened earlier this week, a GW police officer. And she described some of the protesters allegedly scoping out buildings potentially to hold future protests at, and some of them even gathering defensive and offensive weapons, potentially items to be used as weapons. So it tells you where things stood right now. And police were saying that they were, really gathering near this site, preparing to respond to this protest this week. And they gave 6 announcements Tuesday night when students gathered here. 6 announcements before they really started to move in and tell students to move off that area of University Yard behind me. Again, you can still see some of the tents that are up right now, but responders clearly actively right now removing some of those tents that were at the scene. And we do know that, according to the police chief, pepper spray was used. So again, that shows you just how tense things got here overnight, and 33 arrests were made. But this is the protest was happening over a span of 2 weeks. I believe it began on April 25th, and the university president actually released a letter to the students talking about this effort to remove the protesters and to crack down on the protest happening, because she says, in the president's own words, this was not a peaceful protest. And she described things like vandalism taking place and things like anti-Semitic images being used by some of the protesters. So again, this led to ultimately what happened overnight with police moving into this area of University Yard and removing protesters. And we're seeing them remove some of the tents at this hour. Like I said, Marni, 33 arrests made in response to all this. And the investigation ongoing as far as, what led up to this and some of the charges and details tied to it all, Marni.
All right, Tom, thank you for the update in D.C. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.